Today's video is about pagination. We want to retrieve our data from the database, not all at once, but in smaller chunks. Also, this is inspired on Jason Taylor's clean architecture template, so feel free to check that out. But I, of course, have a different setup, but you'll see a lot of similarities. If you're not yet familiar with my setup, feel free to check out my previous videos. Today I'll be building on top of those. So yeah. So I have Entity Framework running a database using Entity Framework. My previous videos about setting up a database with Entity Framework, that one is important. I think also the AutoMapper one, since, yeah, and yeah. So let's start. Normally you'd just build this into your controller first. Sorry. What we want to do is we want to, I'll already have my projects running and my Docker database, of course, and my backend API, which is this one, Pet Social API. And I have an event controller in here. I did a lot of stuff with MediatR. I also have a video about that. Feel free to check that out. And the first endpoint here is just getting a list of events from the database. But of course, there's a few query parameters you can pass through. So the database will filter the results based on this events query. So let's have a look. Some optional properties: start date, end date is visible, and event type. Those we are going to apply to our database call as well. So I'm just summarizing what I have right now. So if one of those properties is set, we are going to filter our database results with that value, with those values. Could actually be multiple ones. To do pagination, which is the topic of this video, we'll have to do something similarly. So we'll probably have to add a few properties and then further filter our database based on those property values. But we're not going to just put this in here. We're going to do this in a separate class we can just simply inherit from and reuse throughout the project, because we'll want to do this not only for the query, for the events, but also for, with the event I mean like public meetups and stuff. But we can also do this for other content types, like a list of parks, a list of venues, a list of whatever. So yeah. So you saw the controller, so I'll quickly show you my Swagger. So that's this endpoint. Then you see the start date, end date is visible. You don't have to use it, I think. You don't have to set anything. Okay, event type is required. And then you get a long list of events, way too many. That's why we'll be implementing pagination. So that's all the context I can give for the backend. Let's have a quick peek at the front end. So let's The front end. Normally, this is my front end project, but social SPA. But how I like to work is I put reusable stuff in my shared SPA project, which is a Razor class library with some static files and code uh, to reuse within multiple front-end projects like this Belgian Dogos SPA, this Pet Social SPA, and maybe more to come in the future. Okay, so I'm thinking, is it important to show you the front end? Not really. Let's leave that for last and just implement it in the Swagger, in the backend first, and show you in the Swagger, and then afterwards we're going to build on that to use it in the front end, and maybe I'll add an extra about something about just refetching when you're scrolling to the end, like infinite scrolling or something. We'll see about that. Let's show you another demo where I had to do that. Oh, sorry. So this is a Tinder-like app with Belgian shelter dogs where I implemented pagination for multiple reasons. Of course, there are a lot of shelter dogs, unfortunately, way too many. I think there's about 600 in the database. So that would take a long time to load them all at once. So it wouldn't be a great user experience, and that would be heavy for the API and the database. So how I implemented it here is I'm loading 7 to 15 dogs at once for the user to browse through. And when the user sees, I think, the third to last dog in this first batch, it's going to do another query to the API, which is going to fetch a new batch of dogs for the user to see. So another 7 to 15 dogs. I could swipe or like. So this makes, you see, it did another request to get new dogs. So you shouldn't run out of dogs at any time soon. And those are all added to my personal list of favorites. So that was a quick demo about how I implemented pagination the last time. And now I'm going to implement it in a new kind of app. So what we need here, of course, is some extra fields that allow me to enter, for example, the amount of events I want to retrieve and so forth. Okay, we'll start by modeling this. So adding these properties to our current get events query, maybe to the request class. Let's see. So get events query. So we'll want this to inherit from the pagination class. I am going to put this class in my shared features, I think, and the common. I'll just put it in here in the shared features. Pagination a folder, add a, let's see, add a class pagination query, and let it have two properties, a page number and a page size. So it's actually, we want to retrieve 15 events at a time, and yeah, it's going to be 15 per response, so per page actually. If we set page number to 2 and our size is 15, we're probably going to get, this is more, I think this page number is more like the offset. So if you set this to 2, it's not going to get the first 15, but the second 15 results, the second batch of 15 results. Anyway, I'm going to make this an abstract class because I don't want to directly use it. I only want to inherit from it. And I'll apply this to my get events query. Let's see, pagination query. Okay. Let's rerun our backend project and see, check out the Swagger. Get events, and then you see this page number and page size. But this doesn't actually do anything yet, of course. It's just passing through these values. So we should now find a way to filter our database results with these values. You could simply do that similarly as here. So request dot page size, if it's not null, yeah, it's never going to be null because I defaulted it to 15. That's default 15. So we could actually, let's see. So we could add extra link query thingies, and yeah, database filters, I mean, skip. And let's see. Probably going to be request dot page. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, page number. So the offset. Oops, what did I do? And the wrong one. Requests dot page number and take. That's how many I want to take. So how many results I want to have. Is request dot page size. But we don't want to do this. We could, but we don't want to do this every time and every different content query. So we're going to make this a little more generic and applicable. We're going to use this some kind of AutoMapper extension method to project this to a paginated list, and it's going to automatically apply the skip and take for us. In one of the previous videos about AutoMapper, we already made this project to list async, and we commented out this paginated list async, but we're going to use it now. So instead of doing the project 2, we'll be able to do paginated list async or something like that. I realize this is not really keeping it simple. It is, however, an elegant solution, reusable solution. I showed you the simple way of doing it by just adding skip and take everywhere, or make your own skip and take method, reusable method. But this is how the JSON tailors, how it's done in JSON tailors clean architecture template, and I kind of like it. So we see a paginate list class. Let's make that one. Pagination, I already made it. Yeah, I just did it while not recording. Just a paginate list that accepts a generic, so that's going to be, I think, the queryable of events. So the thing you're seeing here, a queryable event or something, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to have a property results, which is going to have the actual 15 events in there. This constructor we can comment out for now. I was getting ahead of myself. But we first need to make this create async method. It's a static method. Oops. Okay, so we have this public static async paginated list create async method that wants a queryable of, in our case, events, a source, a page index, and a page size. This page index starts from 0 instead of 1. For some reason, I set this to 1. But in here, we're doing page index -1. Anyway, let's resolve these references. So what it's gonna do, it's going to count the amount of results, which should be, wait, is it going to count all of the results? Probably. To do a count query to the database to see how many there are in total, how many events we have in total. And then it's going to query what we want to retrieve from the database. So the first 15 events, and it's going to construct model that so our response will be adapted to, instead of a list of event response, to a paginated list of event response, which is structured a little differently. That's what we're going to do in this constructor. So we're going to pass down the results, the total count, the page index, the current page index, and the current page size. Gonna fill up the results with the results, of course, and then in Swagger the response will be, instead of an entire list, instead of an entire list of events, it's gonna have a, I'll show you in a minute. The actual events are just going to be, actual 15 events are going to be in the results field property. The reason why we are not returning it directly, just a plain list of results, is because we want to keep track of the, we're going to call it metadata, which is going to keep track of the page with the current page index, the total amount of pages, and the total count. So the total count is the amount of events, and the total amount of pages is just the total amount divided by the page size. So if there's 150 events, divide that by 15 for page size, that's about 10 pages. It's going to be the total pages property. For that, we are going to add another property, pagination, metadata. I'll call it metadata. Let's first make the class. And we have a few properties: page index, total pages, total count, has previous page, and has next page. These has previous page and has next page are going to be true or false depending on the other properties. So if we're at the last page, has next page should be false. If we're on the first page, has previous page should be false, and vice versa. Oops. And we're just going to fill this. Oops. Total pages, like I already mentioned, is going to divide the total amount of events divided by page size. So let's say 150 events and page size is 15. Total pages should be 10. That's all to modeling our paginated list response. I added another constructor to help my front end. So we're going to directly use this type, paginated lists, but for some reason it didn't want to work in the front end because of these parameters. So that's a quick workaround for me. I don't know if that's a good thing to do or not, but all right. And let's implement this. And now we should be able to call paginated list async in our, let's see. Oops, my bad. Instead of this to list async, of course, it's an extension method. And instead of doing the skip and the take each time over again, we're just going to pass down our values here: page number, page size. And then it's complaining because we have a list in here, so we're gonna return a paginated list. And then it's probably gonna have to be done here. And here. Oops. Seems about right. Let's try it out in Swagger. I'm just going to have an event type of meetup. I want just gonna set to 1. We can just not fill this in since it's gonna be defaulted to 1. And for page size, I'll just try 2. So normally I would it would return about 57 events or something. Now it should only return 2. And we see nicely how the parameters were passed down. So page number 1, page size is 2. And then we have the response, which is metadata. and results. Results, of course, should have 2 events. This looks about right. Total count is 57, like I said. Total pages is 57 divided by 2 and then rounded up. So yeah, current page index is 1. Shouldn't that be 0? As previous page is false, so we're actually on the first page. Maybe I should rename this to page number then. The index should be 0, I think. As next page is true, so we could say now increase the page number. Page number 2 should return 2 different events, like you can see in the event names. And has previous page is true and has next page is also true. Let's quickly fix this page index. Probably in the pagination metadata. So this page index should be page number, because we're actually, to get the actual page index, we're doing page number -1. So that was a mistake on my end, I think. Need this to be page number. Rename this. So starting from 1, and then we need to change our mopping extension as well to be consistent. Page number, and the last thing, so this makes more sense since we're actually passing page number and page size. It might make more sense to just work with the page index. But maybe we'll have to do -1 for this total pages or something. Anyway, let's continue. I've got a feeling entering 0 here will error. Yep, it's erroring. Offset cannot be negative. So we definitely should, sorry, let me rephrase. We probably have to catch that either by validation or somewhere in here. Just make it so that if the page number is passed as a 0, that we make it 1. Yeah, I think you get what I'm trying to say. So that was all there is to it for the backend. Let's now take a look at the front end. I want to implement pagination in my Blazor WebAssembly apps. So in this one and in this one. And I put the actual events component, I already made it, and I put it in here. event cards, which is calling our service in the same project with a get events request. This is not the get events query. This should actually be get events query, or we have to change the controller to accept get events requests. I'm gonna do that for validation purposes. So we have this method fetch events, get events, which is going to retrieve a list of events from the API. First of all, it's going to transform all our parameters. For example, start date is visible, event type, and also the pagination. It should also transform the pagination parameters to a query string. This is simply just constructing a query string. I think there's probably a built-in function for that, but I made it myself, just adding a n sign and a key query so we can, key and a value. So page number equals 1, for example, so we can construct something like this. Event type is meetup, page number, from the front end. This return type should probably change into paginated list. But let's start by allowing for us to implement pagination in the requests in the query string. Similarly, as we did for the get events query, we're going to implement from pagination query. This pagination query is currently residing in the shared features. So I'm going to move it to the contracts folder. It's a bit just for my use case. I have to do some extra things. Sorry, let's. This is going to be the same as pagination query. It's going to be an abstract class, I think so as well. I'm actually going to remove the pagination query. I did it that way in my previous project, but now I'm going to requests. This actually should have a requests and responses folder. Oh. We might have to put the paginated list in the response object in the, responses. And there. And now we could easily add a validator to validate this page number, that it should be more than 0, etc. Maybe apply a max and a minimum on this page size. Now, oops. Now we should be able to add these properties in the get events requests. We could say, oops, page size is 2. And we don't have to do it. If we don't do it, it's just gonna use the default ones. Okay, let's just get rid of our error. This is not inheriting from pagination query, but from pagination request. Okay, and this should now work. I think I'm going to rerun the backend, and I'm going to run one of my apps. Let's see. Anything happened? Could not fetch events. Something went wrong. Of course, it's just something specifically to my use case. I using events query in here instead of the request. Oops. Let's see. Now, actually, let's do it differently. Let's go to events query, and instead of inheriting from pagination requests, I'm going to inherit from get events request, which is also going to have all these fields and the pagination fields. Hopefully. Yes, all seems okay. Seems a bit extra, but that's yeah, just typically from my use case. I want to separate the request contracts so I can reuse those in the front end. I want to separate them from the actual queries, so I won't be using this one directly in the front end. And I'll be applying my validation on the get events requests and not on this query, I think. Since we need our validation errors also in the front end to display in the front end. Maybe we'll be doing it double also in the queries, since our API, oh no, we're using the that's not good. Request. I'm explaining too much. I want to use this one. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with explanation of my specific setup, but this should work. Just call this request. It's automated, I can just do this. Since this mediator really needs a query to find, to execute. So I think it's better to map this get events query and just say, maybe we could use AutoMapper for this, but I'm not going to bother. I think. Okay. So it should look like this, manually mapped, but I'm thinking about using AutoMapper. So this should all be just request.startDate.endDate.isVisible.eventType.page number.page size, but I'm going to use AutoMapper. I'm sorry if this makes it more complicated for you. This is how you'd do it normally. without AutoMapper, and that should work. Going to add to my mapping profile. Going to add another method in here. Map request to query. And I'm going to map this. Let's see, mapper dot. I think it's this one. I think it's like this. Map. The destination is get events query and the request. I hope that works. Let's just query, put this in here, and yeah, and let's rerun it. Let's see, everything's still here. Could not fetch events again. I'm not seeing any errors. I'm quickly going to debug it while not recording. Okay, while debugging, I'm probably just not using the correct response type in here. So it's gonna be paginated list. Should be paginated list. We've got the same problem again, just my problem for my use case. This is currently in the shared features project. I don't want to inherit from it in my shared SPA. Keep frontend and backend separate. So I'm going to use a contract to communicate between the two. Which gives me some extra hoops to jump through, unfortunately. Since this pagination list is relying on Entity Framework core, I don't want this dependency in my front end. I'm probably gonna have to split this class into one a contract and the other one is this. I could put this straight into my helper method, into my mapping extension. Let's see. Oh, sorry, it's this one. Okay. T destination and queryable. This doesn't have an async. Yeah, I think, oh, we can do this, but I don't think it's going to be as easy to use if we do it like that. That still seems to work. We're awaiting it here. Okay, interesting. And then this paginated list can move to the contracts along with its pagination metadata. I'm going to move this to responses. Remove this folder. We can get rid of this dependency. Let's refactor the namespaces. Okay. Maybe I want to call this paginated response or something. Not going to worry about it now. All events should be, first of all, paginated list. Going to rename this to paginated events. And then this is just probably the interface complaining. Oops. Yep. That should do it, and now it should work from front end to back end, hopefully. Let's rerun the project. Oh, we have still one small error here. Paginated list. Need to make sure we have that paginated list, and now we're going to loop over the birthdays.results instead of the birthdays directly. That was another component, similarly as the normal events. Let's see. Then the same for events.results. And now I should be able to run it. I rerun the projects, and now I'm just getting 2 events instead of 57, which is great. The last thing to do would be fetching the next batch of events when I'm scrolling to the end of this. I hope the video is not going to take too long because of that. Just for demo purposes, I'm going to add a button that is going to fetch the next batch of results. Fetch next, I call it results or events or something. Fetch next. Task. So it's gonna have a little if statement. Should probably say, since events is this paginated event response, should check the metadata, whether it has a next page. If so, we could say, let's maybe rename this paginated events. A paginated response or something, whatever you want. Okay. Or we could just do the same thing. Maybe extract this. Await fetch. So what's going to happen now, of course, it's going to replace the current events with the next batch of events, and we'll probably want to add somehow the new events to the current batch of events. So if you had like a pagination component saying with buttons like page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, that might be an idea to just replace the current object, but even then you'd probably want to avoid having to reload the first page when you go back. So you'll probably just want to have a collection of all the pages you fetched so far. So how I like to approach this is using a service, just keeping track of the pagination in a service, probably in our event service would make most sense. And in here, we might not need the paginated list object. We'll only probably want to access the paginated events itself and keep the rest in the service. Since let's, for example, say you go from the home page to another page, and on the home page I loaded a few batches of events, and when I go back I don't want to have to reload them, so it's the way to persist these events is using this events service. Let's quickly just see what happens when we click our button. I'm going to increase this to 7 so we see the difference more clearly. Okay, I had to rebuild the project, and I'm gonna put this back to page size of 2 to make it easier to follow. Yep, so we have 2 events, and then we have a button that's not showing properly. So I added some CSS to that, but it didn't. Come on. Should be a blue button. Let's just do it in here then. And let's see the titles. Load next batch. Of course, I did something stupid in here. You don't want to. I don't want to return just the current ones for now. But when I'm combining the results, so keep a collection, I'll probably do want to do this. Let me think about it. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. Just add true for now to refetch every time. Okay, load next batch. Nothing happened. Probably because I didn't increase the page index, the offset. So I was just refetching the same results all the time. And let's just have the, let me see, page number +1 or something. Current page number +1. See if that works. I'll clean this up in the future. So these are the titles. Now it should work. And every time I say this, nothing happens. Probably because I introduced a bug. Just do it like this. Page number. From here say that. And here we just say 1. I'll rerun and try to show it. Okay, so 2 things loaded. Load next batch and exactly the next batch loaded. We can do this again and again and again. You see the titles change, right? Let's open up the network. Let's see which requests we pushed to the API. Page number is 2, page size is 2, which is this. Oops. And here page number is 3, and there page number is 4. And we could keep going until we don't have any pages left. That's probably gonna error then. So we should. Okay. I just loaded the last one. And now it doesn't have any next pages anymore, so it shouldn't do anything anymore, which is good. For a moment I thought I had to do some extra checks, but it's already built in, since as next page is not going to be executed anymore. Okay, that's all for that. I'm not going to bore you with the mechanism I will need for auto maybe to make the collection of results. Maybe I'm quickly going to show that, but I don't actually want this button. I'll want to be fetching next results while I'm scrolling actually. At least I think I want that maybe in on another page. So each time this happens, I should actually add to paginated events, but I should replace the paginated events metadata. So how are we going to approach this? First of all, I'm going to remove this stuff. Let's remove that. I renamed this to fetch paginated events, and I'm not going to, let's see, not going to overwrite that directly. Let's update the interface. I called it paginated events. Don't need this force fetch thing. So we should overwrite the, let's say, paginated events dot metadata is response. Oops. Response dot metadata, and the paginated events dot results dot add range response. Oops. Response dot results. Let's see what if results is a 0. That should be a list, should be okay. Return the paginated event. Should probably only return the list. Results. Then we'll have to update the interface again. I think that's enough for now. The only thing here is we have to change this back to a list. Just call it, I would want to call it all events, but I'm just going to call it events. Damn it. Oops. Events. Yeah, this doesn't exist. So to get the next page, we now have a problem. We'll have to access the paginated events that reside in the service that has the metadata. Or we could just move this method to the function, to the service as well. But let's first worry about this one. Event service dot this object is private, so let's make it public. And then I'll probably have to add it to my interface. like this. But if we're accessing, probably better practice to just move this we'd probably better move this over to the method. Bum, 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 bum. Let's just test it first. Okay, so events, not results. We're only going to see the button if we have some events, so we don't have to worry about these things being nullable, being null. So let's try it. I'm changing these method names back and forth also in the interface. Sorry about that. Never mind. An error is occurring. I think it's just because this results paginated events is null, and it's going to try to add the range. Let's initialize it. Can do the same here. Don't worry about the birthdays for now. It's still giving me errors. Let's log the exception real quick. Oops. For some reason, I have to clean and rebuild my solutions a lot to get front-end code changes through. My caching should be on this is on disabled. I don't know why it happens that much. It's still giving me a null reference. Let's see. Probably have to do this. I could also initialize my pagination metadata to have the page number of 1 when starting out, so that there's no bugs there. And yet again, I had to rebuild my shared SPA just for that stupid little code change. It's probably because I'm working in this Razor class library or something. So maybe that's giving me trouble. Anyway, now it should add the next batch events just to the append them to the current ones. So if you now want to have like functionality of pressing of actual pagination, like having page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and you want to toggle back and forth, you might want to, instead of appending it to the current lists, you might want to have a list of lists and then just increase or decrease the index you are displaying the results you're displaying. I hope that wasn't too confusing. And that's all there is. That's all I'm going to show for this video. For me, I don't want to use this button. I'll probably want to have the reload trigger when the user scrolls to the end. But I think that might require some JavaScript. All right. See you in the next video.